Did you print the attachment?
I did not print it down.
Okay.
I can,
Well, maybe if we just talk about it, then if we need it as a follow-up, then that would work.
Yeah.
Or we can just open it and look at it later. Okay. Oh, that's fine. Being that it's 6 o'clock, we're going to bring this finance committee meeting to order. Long day. Okay, so first of all, we'll talk about our approval of the minutes from June 12th, which was our last meeting. Hi, Em.
Hello.
I read them, I'll make a motion to approve them.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. All right, now we're going to talk here about the paraprofessional rate increases. Oh, sure, Georgie just disappeared. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. So we that was what we wanted to talk about, was how do we as a board feel comfortable raising what could be $81,000 worth of new expenditures? How can we be comfortable with that?
yeah, so, I mean, first of all, there was it 16 or 18 vacancies that were there. So, you know, there's obviously a need. You can take a look at some of these vacancies were in the special ed realm. So, you know, there is a requirement to have, depending on the IEP, that you must provide this. So, you know, if these vacancies, if we can't fill those, then we're sort of leaning towards, you know, possible other issues. So that sort of, you know, from my perspective, was at least one of the reasons that there needed to be a push for somehow to get more vacancies in here. So, or get more folks in here to fill those vacancies. So there is an increase in the rates. What I haven't quite been able to figure out is that this was discussed months ago.
Mhm.
So, you know, from the budget perspective, my understanding is that some of this is already budgeted for, that there was discussion going on. So the money is already in the budget. So that's, yeah, those are my initial thoughts.
Okay. So, I mean, not just specifically paraprofessionals, but in general. So, and I think that's, Peg always says, you have to talk me into it because it's extra money that we didn't budget for. So I think that's just a general question, more or less, about, you know, we get it, we need paraprofessionals, we're gonna have to figure it out. We have that. And for the most part, anytime we do that, I think we all understand that. Whether we like it or not, we do it.
Yeah.
Well, Melanie keeps assuring me that we have the money, and that's what
I
she's
do.
referring to, and I keep telling her, I keep busting on her, talk me off the ledge, because,
Yeah.
She
you
says
know, my
no.
perspective is senior citizen, fixed income, you can't keep using the reserve money, it's gonna run out, even I know that, and I don't know a lot about accounting, so, you know, that's
But we
just what.
can afford $500,000 for armed guards, but we can't pay our paraprofessionals. That's gonna be the story. You know it.
Well,
You're gonna hear it.
but we also.
We spent $500,000 on armed guards, but our paraprofessionals make $15 an hour.
Not anymore.
Well, 18 an hour. But of course, they're still posting on Facebook that they make $14 an hour. I still
Yeah, I
keep
know,
seeing
that's
that.
because they
Because
don't.
they go into Skyward and look at their current rate, and it hasn't turned over yet.
Exactly.
They're not working yet, it's not even
Right,
paid period
exactly.
yet.
But I'm just saying, you know, you're,
And it's not really, it wasn't really 500,000.
yes, it was.
200 extra.
It was $500,000 that we spent, we will be spending every single year moving forward.
Unless we
That you have
decide
added
not
to the budget.
I know, I get it.
Go back to what Drew was commenting on, if we don't have our own employees, then we go to agencies, and their numbers are
A lot more.
a lot more than that. Now, there's no pieces on the back end, that's an acknowledgement of that balance when you go to those pieces. But the due process potential, and I mean, just putting it out there, potential on the due process for not meeting those needs, and giving the students they have. So, I mean, I commend the board for moving in that direction based upon the recommendation, It has helped. I mean, you'll see on the agenda on Thursday, there's at least 4. We had made at least 11 offers, I believe, last week through that additional information, and some of it directly related to a change in the rate.
Yep.
So I believe we had 18 vacancies, and that number was mentioned last week during one of our meetings, and I think we're down to about 3 or 4 at this point.
Yeah, again, I
So-
think we're still waiting for paperwork and things to come through,
Yes.
but 11 offers were made by the end of the day Friday,
Yes.
Great,
so.
that's great, I'm
And
glad it helped.
I was going to say the same thing. I mean, it's either we're going to pay it now to our people, you know, or we're going to pay it to another agency, which is just going to increase the cost. So by doing this, you know, it will be a savings ultimately. We don't see it right away, but it is what it is. You know, we've spent money on other things over the years, just that were just as contentious as the armed guards this year. So, you know, this is going to come up every year on some subject matter, no matter, who knows what it's going to be next year. So, you know, currently the talk on Facebook is all the number of communication apps that we have. Can't you get down to one? Come on. You've got Plan, you got Parent Square, you've got, I don't know, we've got 3 or 4 Skyward, and, you know, the people don't look that we're trying to reach that end goal. You know, and we are actually we've been fiscally conservative on a lot of things here, and we have spent our money wisely.
I think so. I think so.
So if we're talking about raising paraprofessional rates to increase new hires.
Traffic.
Yeah, new hires. What about our current paraprofessionals?
They
They've
are also
already been
getting,
taken care of.
they're
Well-
getting an increment for every year of service, because that way we don't have a compression.
Well, didn't we, okay, am I confused?
The-
Didn't we just do this?
Yes,
Yeah.
So we're talking about
It was
this
a topic.
post,
Again.
oh, I thought you guys were talking about raising them again.
No.
Okay.
We did have this
Never
conversation
mind.
last
All
week.
my questions just got
this
answered.
was a
I'm
discussion,
sorry.
this was a part of the conversation with, I think, the committee, to make sure that we had a fruitful conversation, knowing the timeliness of the previous,
Right.
so.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was-
So we're not talking about making more increases?
No.
That's what I thought we were
No,
talking
oh,
about.
sorry.
No.
Okay.
No.
I thought we were going up again. It was just, we got excited.
No, it's not another 80,000 since last week.
No.
We already voted yes,
Yes.
so I thought that was a done deal.
Right, but all the
was a
adjustments
general
that we've
fund.
done, we've
Now I
been
understand.
trying to ensure that there's no compression on the framework for the salaries, for the
Right.
people that we have and the people that we're
Yes.
bringing in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now Judy's up to speed. Sorry, it was
It's
first
okay.
day, it was first day of in-service, and I wear 3 different hats.
Oh,
So I was just like, by the end of the day.
That's never fun.
So now I'm up to speed. We're talking about the older one that we've already voted for. I'm good.
It's, okay. All right, so, yeah, it was just general, not specifically power, that was just a good example.
Yeah, and in general, when salaries is a good one to look at. So if you take a look at salaries from the budget and then how you ended the year, there's, and I'm sure George, you can tell better than anybody, there's people moving in and out. There's, you know, someone goes out on a leave, you bring in a long-term sub. Most times, the person that went out on the leave is more expensive than the long-term sub that you're bringing in. So there's always so much of this that goes on throughout the year, which, and I've seen in many years, that your salary line is way too high. Well, when we put the budget in for everybody that's scheduled to be here and be working, that's exactly what the number should be.
Right.
Throughout the year, there's all these, you know, events that happen that, for me, every year has been lower than what has been budgeted. So that's sort of like I feel comfortable with this because in the end, we'll end up making it up.
So technically, as to our policy conversation, it's technically not fluff, but you have to budget for what you think you're gonna have,
Well,
If you were
a full
operating on
complement
status
of what you
quo,
think you're gonna have. Yeah,
truth be told, when I talk about fluff, I'm talking about stuff that's being purchased that we don't need.
yeah, we don't need,
Okay.
yeah,
That sits in closets,
yep.
that get hidden for years,
Mhm.
and it just drives me crazy.
just have to be smaller closets.
Don't have the closet cover.
But it's
We did
a
that
real
facilities.
sticky point.
Okay, well, I'll move us on to the pollution liability insurance policy.
Okay, so, found out that what was it, August 3rd, there was a 3-year pollution policy that was set to expire. So timing of all this, what we ended up doing is getting a 1-month extension, and then I talked multiple times with Dr. Roach. We need to sort of bring this up in front of a committee. So the 1-month extension got us to September 3rd, so that we could have this discussion here, and then if the decision comes out here to renew the policy, then the policy could be on for the 24th, for Thursday.
Yeah, this would normally be a conversation in facilities based
Right.
upon that, but with the time frame, I know you guys know this, but we had asked to move it up so we have a placeholder on the agenda for this item. At some point, the board decided they wanted this type of insurance, the pollution, which is tied to mold and other pieces. And I guess the discussion here is, do we want to renew that for a period of time based upon the pieces that are there and moving forward?
Yeah, so there's a whole matrix of options here.
Yeah, right. Everybody loves that.
Yeah, so you can get a $1 million policy, a $3 million policy, or a $5 million policy. And then each one of those, you can have a 1-year, 2-year, or a 3-year term. So I'm sure everybody in this room probably has a better understanding of where this came from, because these kind of policies, not everybody has, which can be a good thing.
Do we know how long have we had that policy?
I don't remember voting.
I was gonna
I
say,
think he just said it expired it was a 3-year policy.
This
Yeah,
one
when-
expired.
but when did it, like, who originally said,
Yeah, I
we
don't
need this
know.
insurance and went out and bought it?
Yeah, and the broker couldn't go back to see if there was another 3-year policy before that. So she couldn't find those records.
The high school mold.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. What
Does that
year
fit?
did
But
we
that
have
fits
the
right
high
about
school
3 years
mold?
ago.
Because it was around the
So
same
it had to be a
time.
second update, because 3 years ago I was here, didn't remember
I don't remember
advocating
either.
or talking about it.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember this. I've been on the board 6 years, so
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
Can we tell in payables? Somehow?
We would have to actually pull the invoice because it's paid directly to the broker, who we pay for all of our policies.
Okay.
Or the other thing to do is go back 3 years and check the board agendas for
Yeah.
3 months prior.
When we had the mold, did this insurance pick up the cost?
No,
That's
but we spent $1 million
Yeah.
to pay for the remediation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Did somebody get it after we encountered
I
that?
think so, that would be my guess.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking, is they were trying
Ask
to
Sandy.
be proactive at that point.
She'll probably
Call
remember.
Sandy, she'll know.
Yeah, I don't.
You know she'll know.
I don't remember ever voting on that. We could have, but I don't remember doing that.
yeah.
I mean, we debate the numbers.
I would have been mad if we had $100,000 deductible.
Well, no, I wouldn't have been mad if we
I
had.
would have.
If you had $100,000 deductible and we had $1 million
Mold.
problem,
And what does it cost a year?
Well, we shouldn't have never had $1 million problem to begin with.
Yes, you're right. You are so
go
right.
down that road again.
So for the 3-year, the total is somewhere between 54 and 57,000.
Oh, see, that's,
Yeah, I
Why don't
feel
we
like
just
we
not-
would have
why
had
don't
a
we just
discussion
not-
I
about
would
that.
remember it, I don't
Yeah.
know about it.
Absolutely can let it expire.
I hate insurance. I say we don't renew it. Speaking from, all right,
I
here's
was
my
gonna say, what does our
rationale.
head of facilities say?
Here's
We
my
asked them?
rationale. My rationale is,
Good.
we have upgraded and fixed so many things that we shouldn't, and specifically with regard to climate, humidity. I don't know what else it covers, but it doesn't cover asbestos, I'm sure.
It covers the
Yeah.
tanks.
The tanks are the big thing that it would cover. And then there's so many
What
other,
tanks?
the heating oil tanks? Is it heating oil?
Yeah, no. I say we don't have it.
And one of those tanks is 30-something years old, but I believe Craig is talking about taking those offline, as in we don't need them, because,
What happened if we renewed it, spent 2 months reviewing the information that would be
Cancel.
applicable to anything that it would cover, and then cancel it if we felt that it was worth it?
Is that something we can do?
Well, that's what I'm asking.
so I might have to find that email. She did our broker did say, I don't know if the numbers out without having it, but you would still be on the hook for 60% if you canceled after the first month, 70% if you, you know, you're still gonna have a bulk of
Oh.
that premium payment.
Well, what's the minimum of the coverage? 1 million for
1
1 year?
million for 1 year would be 27,423.
Is that already in our budget? Thank you. That was a good
I don't know if I
question.
can answer that
Okay,
definitively.
fair enough.
Yeah, is it something we've been budgeting for the last 3 years? I guess it must be.
Well, it would have been paid once, and then you have it for 3 years.
Oh, it's not like we
So,
pay each
yeah.
year 27,000.
But I
Is
believe
it
this did come
possible that
up.
we had it 6 years ago and it renewed automatically?
And we didn't use it when we had the mold?
Yeah, I'll
6
look
years
at that
would have been
where
right
it
on.
fit, but
Right on the point, whether it was, I'm trying to think, when was that, 17, 18?
Alexis was here, I just remember that phone call. I remember that executive session on the phone. with Mark.
Well, let's put it this way, even if we didn't renew it, if we went out to get it again 6 months from now,
Yeah, how
it
much
still
would it
raise
be
the
different?
policy.
You
Yeah,
could, yeah.
It may change a little bit,
at least we
but
wouldn't
at
be on
least
the
we're not
hook
in
for
penalty
70%.
pays for 60%.
I
I
think
like
that's
that
a good-
idea.
I do
We let
too.
it lapse and we investigate whether or not this is something we really need.
Yeah,
Because maybe there's something we all don't know, aren't thinking of right this
Well,
minute.
we've
Somebody
done a
says,
number
well, the
of
reason we did this
studies.
was.
We've done a number of studies on the facilities over the past 2 years, 3 years. We know what has been wrong and identified.
we know what we
It's on a
said.
schedule for replacement or been replaced. The only thing I've heard recently is possibly the tank that Craig just mentioned. Or excuse me, Drew just mentioned that Craig said we might have to replace.
But maybe we
So-
don't know, he said maybe we could
Right.
take it out of
Might just be able to
service.
take it offline.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
I mean,
So
really,
so that
do you
would
have
be the
insurance
only
for your home?
outstanding
I
liability
don't.
at this point. I would say let it term expire.
And then
Are
we'll
you
just,
suggesting we kick it over to the facilities committee and let them handle it?
Absolutely.
Well, the follow-up
Way to
would
pass
be
the
for
buck,
the
Drew.
facilities committee to
yep,
take a look at
But I
anything.
really do think we should give facilities time to figure out
agree.
whether this is something
Yeah.
that we need.
Well, that begets a bigger conversation of what are all of our
Melanie, you need to
insurance
give
Yes.
Jackie a
covers
heads
and
up.
riders
I
and
will.
things to take a look at, which would be a healthy conversation for someone that's new in the position as well.
yep,
Yeah.
To
that's a
learn what
good
those are.
conversation. All right. So,
So we're gonna remove the placeholder off the agenda.
yep.
Okay.
And our
And-
administrators are okay with that? Oh, stop, it'll be fine.
Okay, then, I mean, I don't know how it came in. I don't know how it came into
Yeah.
to there, so.
And,
it's-
and we don't.
And if something would have happened, I wouldn't even know that happened. I
Exactly.
wouldn't have been able to go, oh, yeah. well,
Quick, call the insurance
pull that-
Yeah, there's this
Because you know they're not gonna call us. They're not gonna call us if something happens.
Did we have that when we had the mold,
Yeah.
and we spent $1 million, and we
Yeah.
could have spent $100,000, because that
Yeah.
was the
I
deductible.
get it, yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
I can't believe,
Yeah.
like, if we
It
had
seems
that,
like that's putting the cart.
Deep
I would
breaths.
say that.
First day back, deep
Yeah,
breaths.
the car
I want you to
after the
explode before you leave here.
yeah, but seriously, if we had that insurance and we didn't use it, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
flabbergasted.
I don't think we did. I
But
don't,
then you would have thought, we would have had a conversation about it afterwards, and
I
I
agree.
don't remember that.
I agree.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Move on.
All right.
Okay, so we're okay with moving that on to facilities?
Yes.
Okay, I mean, okay.
Just
food
Real quick,
service.
does that get at least a conversation about extending one more month? Is that, or just let it go?
I
I
think.
I say let it go.
Let it
Yeah.
expire, yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
What did they charge us for 1 month?
$1,563,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
we can use that to offset the Paris.
there you go. Good job, good job. Okay, perfect. All right, food service agreement with Springford to serve our students at the tech school.
Yes, so I do have that attachment linked in the agenda. I do have one copy here that if anybody wants to see it, they can. I apologize, I didn't print out multiple copies. This is it's the PDE approved contract when 2 LEAs are sort of combining to have one of the LEAs handle the kids, feeding them lunch or breakfast. So Springford is taking over serving of the lunches at the tech school for this year. So the agreement is between us and Springford. Paula did take a look at this, said yes, that's the boilerplate, generic language of the agreement, so that we handle all the applications for the kids to apply for free or reduced. And we also handle the direct certifications for any of those kids that come through. We also handle the verification, and then Springford will actually, well, not Springford, the tech school will then feed the students and then get the reimbursement from the state and federal government for those kids that participate.
Okay.
So if the committee here approves it, we can have it on for Thursday night so that we can, I think we have a placeholder.
And I'm updating the motion right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can have this signed off on so that the tech school can receive the reimbursement for feeding our kids.
Absolutely.
Yep,
Yes.
good with that? Any questions, comments? Okay,
It's important.
so shall we have a motion on that?
Motion to move forward for the agenda.
Second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That was easy.
Yeah. Okay, the per capita tax. So this bubbled up from the board meeting.
Yeah.
We talked about having this on the agenda so that we could chat about it here. I needed to get a little background on this, so I did reach out to Berkheimer.
Did they answer the phone?
They do, because
You
I
have a hotline.
Here's the guy.
I have dealt with him in the past,
Ah,
the
yeah.
gentleman from Berkheimer,
Use the
so.
bat phone.
Mhm. You don't need the red phone.
So,
What are you guys talking about?
you all probably know all this, but I'll just run through this super quick. The criteria is residents over 18 who have income 10,000 or more, earned or unearned income. So that's the criteria as to somebody that is eligible to pay or to be assessed that tax bill. The original files were provided by the district to Berkheimer, and then as Berkheimer has collected the earned income tax, they've updated those files to add residents or remove based on those tax returns. And so he did give me then who to contact and the form, if somebody needs to fill out a form, that they should be exempt from the tax. So that is the update, because I was trying to think of anything everybody here might ask me. That's all I could come up with.
Well, why do I think?
Can we
Why do I
put the
think
form
we did
on
this
our
before?
website?
I think it's on the per capita tax bill, isn't it? Or did we say we should put it on the per capita
But
tax
the
bill?
resident's question was, why if this person is not
but they
required
could
to
be.
pay the tax? Well, no, because of their age.
Yeah.
They were under
Because
18.
they were under 18, if I
Yeah, how'd they
remember
get their name
correctly.
to begin with? Just from the
So
working
they do
rules.
not automatically eliminate
No.
minors.
They don't, correct. Yeah, so I would make an assumption that individual earned more than $10,000. So Berkheimer threw them on the roll, sent out the bill. They don't technically need to pay that bill. There are instructions here on the bill how to go about applying for an exoneration. And they direct you
I thought there
to,
was. I know we talked about
Yeah.
this before. It was, years ago.
yeah, I think they even have it highlighted here. They didn't-
Same time.
I'm sure they-
He didn't highlight this specifically for me. I believe this is the way it is on the bill. So it directs them to Berkheimer's website. But Director McGinnis, to your point, I do think, well, if the committee here wants, we can update our website. We could throw a per capita tab or something under the
Maybe
business
I'll look
office.
into it, maybe
And then we
can-
can link, we can put the form up there.
Just so
we
we
can-
can say that the
Right.
next time he comes, when he gets the bill the next time,
Yeah,
we can say we've done all we can.
that's all we can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are not in charge.
It's
Right.
good communication too, to again,
Yes.
educate
Right.
folks, so
Yeah.
it's wouldn't
Yeah.
hurt, man.
Yeah.
It's, here it is, it's on our website. We tell you, you don't have to do it,
Yeah.
and here's the form.
Yep, and here's even a link.
We
to
can't
it.
fill out the form for you.
Right, you
You're
can't.
going to have to do something.
Yeah, what are we supposed-
Something like that.
Technically, what would we be supposed to do? Call every family and say, did your kid make unearned or earned income? Did they turn 18 this year? Like, we can't do that. That's not our job. That's not the district's job.
The comment seems to be, this is your provider, and they're not doing what they need to do, therefore you need to do something.
Yeah, we get that, but
Right,
still.
so that's,
I can't get through either.
right.
I'm not that.
And it's not like we chose
I
Berkheimer.
don't believe so, I don't know.
Yeah,
what
how
it
did
is.
we-
The
Well,
county.
why did that guy say you hired them?
I think, doesn't the county tell us who we use?
So the county tells us for earned income tax. I'm not clear on per capita.
Oh.
Per capita may be the same,
It might
maybe
be.
it's different.
Okay, I just assumed it was the same as the earned income tax.
Yeah, that's what I'm not 100%
I don't
sure.
remember doing an RFP or anything like that in my time here with.
No, we
Or
never
ever.
did that.
Per capita is probably handled by the borough or township that you're living in.
Oh.
Wasn't that was discussed with the tax
It used
collectors?
to,
Yeah.
yeah, like
Tax
when
collectors.
we decided, or I guess the district decided to go with Berkheimer's for per capita, and I think it was Red Hill who said, no, I'll handle it myself, because we did in the past.
Mhm.
And then after like a year of it, she's like, no,
No, never mind.
we can hand it off.
That was a recommendation from Sandy, I think.
All right, I'll write this
Remember
up and then see if I can,
There was one holdout and they eventually pushed forward to have them handle it per capita
yeah,
as well.
okay.
So
Yeah,
that'll be
that
on the
was-
agenda again under old business.
Because it's not resolved.
Well,
Right.
Yeah. All right.
I'm not sure if it's simply just an update, if we
Yep,
bring it over to Drew, just to provide an update and then go from there.
that'll work.
Now, I know the gentleman that did speak, there was a couple people talking to him after the meeting.
Mhm.
I know Rand,
Yes, Brianne, Mike, and somebody else.
Okay.
Melanie, were you talking to her?
And
No, I just was trying to get everybody into a tech session.
I was at Music Fest right after that meeting, Saturday afternoon, and his wife showed up. Standing next to me, and I didn't recognize her at first. And she said, "Do you want a picture taken?" I said, "No, thanks, that's okay." I'm thinking she looks familiar, and then I looked back again, and then he was standing behind her, and it's like, oh my God. So I got up and spoke with him,
Wow.
so
Yeah,
I got it twice.
I seem to remember, I just seem to remember that the tax collectors didn't, I don't think they got very much from that.
You're right. So it wasn't
And
working.
they were okay with not doing it. And is there any other entity that does do it? Other than the tax collectors or somebody big like Berkman? I guess that's the question.
Yeah, I know Keystone Collections Group has Bucks County.
Yeah, but whether they have here, yeah,
They may or may not take on per capita in a county that they don't have.
okay.
But those are the two biggest ones that I'm aware of,
Yeah,
Berkheimer
I
and
think
Keystone.
Keystone does like Phoenixville and stuff like that. My son had an issue a few years ago.
Okay. I can ask some questions anyway. Okay, grocery store conversation. All right, so we'll move up to 22-23 preliminary budget review. And we know it'll be a while.
Yes, so, yeah, as of right now, Megan and I still need to close out 22-23. So there's still money coming in now that needs to be booked back to last year. And expenses that are coming in now that we have to pay, but they get booked back to last year. So, it's still early, it's all unaudited. I guarantee you, the numbers I'm about to give you are gonna change. I can't say for certain how much, one way or the other, but these are definitely unaudited, will change numbers. Should I say it again?
That was
We promise we're not gonna hold you to it.
This picture is sitting down.
Okay.
Okay, so as of right today, this afternoon, for last year we're talking about, there was 75.5 million in expenditures and 66.777 in revenues. So that is an $8.7 million deficit.
What's a deficit, Melanie?
That's
Yeah.
a deficit.
Yeah.
Oh, we
It's
did
a way
around.
So I told
That's a
you,
small number.
I told you.
Okay, all right.
So it's 8.7 million.
Okay.
When I take a look back, and Dr. Roche and I were talking about this earlier, there was a $5 million transfer into the capital reserve fund in April
Yes.
for capital projects. So if you were to take that 5 million off, because I'm 99.9% sure that was not budgeted for, you would be 3.7 million. And the budget was passed at a $3.026 million deficit for last year. So that's, within $680,000, $700,000 difference, which in my opinion is very tight. Not tight in a bad way, just,
Tight.
yeah, the budget is very close to what the actual numbers are coming in at. Yeah.
Okay.
So like I said, there's more money coming that's gonna get booked back, there's more expenses coming that are gonna get booked back. That could swing $1 million one way or the other way.
Okay. Okay,
Well, we
Budget
did that
transfer.
5 million transfer because at the time we were looking at those numbers, if I remember correctly, we had an exorbitant amount of money that came in revenues for property taxes and other earned
and
interest.
extra interest and,
Plus, we just flat out knew we needed the money in the capital because of the,
The high school and the
what you call it, thank you.
Feasibility
study.
The feasibility study.
Right.
Yeah, that's what the minutes, when we went over,
Yeah.
when I went over the minutes, it specifically said because of the,
We knew we were
Feasibility
going to
study
need that
and-
money in
right.
capital, so, I mean, it's,
okay. That's unassigned capital
So when is in, the money that's in capital reserve,
that we
The
just
5 million
transferred?
transfer.
the 5 million transferred is legally can only be spent on capital improvements, buses, and there's one other thing that I'm drawing a blank on, but legally
Okay.
it has to be spent on capital.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, so nobody else can take that money, you can't use it for anything else.
Okay.
But that's a great thing to have that 5 million in capital, because I took a brief look at the KCBA feasibility study, and it makes me feel good to have some extra money in capital when looking through that report.
Okay.
Did I mention the numbers might change by the time the audit's done?
Okay. Okay. All right, well, having that said, move on to Hereford tax bills.
Yeah, so I may have been here 2 weeks and found out that the tax bills in Hereford were, not all of them were wrong. The homestead, farmstead approved properties, the tax bill did not give them the option of paying by installment. So that is required at a minimum of the homestead farmsteads, and most districts just say everybody can pay by installment. So for some reason, the bills were printed incorrectly. Jackie at Hereford, the tax collector there, has been great to work with. So her and I were back and forth, talked with our bill printer. They agreed to, at no cost to the district, send out revised bills. We asked them for a little note on the bill to say why somebody's getting a second bill. Well, first I asked them to print it in bold red. That was a no, they couldn't do that. But we did ask them to print a note on there, and unfortunately that didn't make it onto the bills. Jackie's been great, she's been handling all the calls. Megan, I don't think you've gotten any calls. I haven't gotten any calls, so, you know, she's doing a great job in sort of being that first line of defense, answering the questions, and all the new tax bills went out, revised tax bills went out to our Hereford residents.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's not so bad.
Yeah.
Recent installments, okay. Okay. All right. So, can I go back to the unaudited budget? for a
Absolutely,
second?
sure, yeah.
Okay. Since I want to make sure I have all the
Understand
facts
the change.
straight in. Yeah. Okay, so the 3.7 million so far unaudited that we have as a deficit, do we have funds to cover that, and where does that come from?
So that would be coming from fund balance.
Okay,
So the budget was passed with a 3 million, and we would have the extra 700, 800,000 that would cover that. I mean, technically, it's an $8.7 million deficit, but we know what the 5 million is.
right,
Right, so, yeah, the 3 million was budgeted for to come out of the fund balance. And then the extra 700 is gonna have to come out of fund balance, if that's the way we end the year.
What does that leave the fund balance at then?
yeah, thank you, that was my next question. I don't
I don't
remember
have my
what.
fund balance numbers memorized.
Ballpark.
I want to say it was like 15,
Best guess.
wasn't it?
12, maybe 12? I don't remember.
I have it, I can pull it up here.
Pick a number.
Mhm.
just don't be wrong.
Right. Ever.
Pick a number between 5 and 20.
It's not allowed to change.
Right, yeah, that one's fine. That's okay, take your time.
All right, so as of June 30, 2022, the audited fund balance, that's,
2023.
Right, yeah.
so we don't have, I mean, that hasn't been audited yet. So I was gonna start with.
Okay, gotcha. The one before, the audited
Yes,
one.
yep. So $18.9 million in fund balance was audited June 30, 2022. So you would take out, I mean, technically you would be taking out 8.7 million of that, but
Okay,
also factoring in 5 million now just increased in your capital reserve fund balance. So that's
Okay.
kind of that trade-off.
so about 10 million. Okay. I'm okay with that. Are you okay with that?
Sort of.
Okay. Okay.
Just have to have another bake sale.
Yeah,
Or
no
car wash or something.
Yep. Okay, so I'll say about. Okay. All
It's
right.
more than I thought it would be, so I guess that's all right.
Okay. Well, that should at least make you feel a little better.
Yeah, but, you know, again, it's gonna keep getting chipped away at us.
Yeah. All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to delinquent real estate tax bill request for waiver of penalties and fees. Don't tell me there's more.
So Portnoy contacted me, and I think they contacted just because of the situation. So there was a property in 2020, was a new construction, house was built, and the new owner, the homeowner, never received the bill, the interim bill for when the property was complete. An interim bill would be sent out saying, you now have constructed a house, here's your new assessed value. They never received it. And this is what, you know, their argument was back to Portnoy. We never received the tax bill, never received any delinquent tax notifications until more recently, within the last month or so, they finally did receive something from Portnoy, and I didn't clarify with them, but Portnoy will occasionally go back and search the new records and see, and probably got a new name and a corrected address. My dealings with Portnoy has always been, you know, you need to stay consistent, don't waive anything, and I just said to our contact at Portnoy, you know, normally it's no, why are you emailing? And she believes because, is it Act 55? I should have double checked that, but the new law that went into effect, if, you know, if somebody doesn't receive a tax bill, they can prove that, you know, property changed hands, and it's within a year, then you don't, they're forgiven the penalties and interest, and that's the exact situation for this property right
Right
here.
off the bat.
Well-
So can you tell us what township or borough that is?
I believe,
Drew and I talked about the decision the board made prior to this with that
Yes.
thing looming July 1. So I
Yep.
figured that that's where,
Yep.
you know, that was why.
So,
Actually,
Exactly.
have they not been paying taxes on having a house on the property since 2020?
They probably own the property and put on a house, like,
But what I'm
like,
saying
so
is,
when we had our pool, they reassessed us, and we got a notice that we owe more.
so,
They didn't get them.
so that's what I'm saying, so they've been paying taxes for 3 years now on property as if it didn't have a house on it.
Or probably.
no, I think the roles would have been updated, so that when the
Oh, it's
next
just- so
year's
it's just
bill,
that one
it's just the 1 year,
year.
2020, yeah. And it would have been an interim bill, so it was done
Oh,
probably in
yeah,
the
the
middle of
next
the
year would
year.
have been the
The
right.
next
one.
year,
Because-
months.
Because I was gonna say, you can't tell me that they didn't notice that their taxes
Yeah.
didn't go up when they built a, but
It's
if it
still
did,
$20.
if it did the next year, then I could see why they would have never known
But that
about
doesn't
the
absolve
interim.
them of the taxes, it just absolves them of fines.
Right, I just was kind of like, wait a second, that, you know, if it's 20, I'm just gonna use weird numbers, you know, if it's $20 without a house and 100 with,
Yeah.
and you've been paying 20 for 3 years with a house on it, you should know something's not right.
Exactly.
But if they, you know, if in 21 they got a normal bill, and thought, oh, that's the new house, you know, I can see why they would have never known.
Yeah, but nobody's gonna make waves. If you're getting a deal, nobody's gonna make a wave.
That's true. Yep, that's true.
But once you got caught, you
Yeah.
probably wouldn't be looking to get rid of the penalties.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I'd say that this seems pretty legit to me. If
So this
It's
falls
just
into
that
the
one
new
thing.
category because of the act that was passed in the summer.
Yeah,
And this isn't like Stillwater.
no, this is one person.
This is one property.
Did we say what township or borough it was?
Upper
Hanover,
Hanover.
she said.
Okay, as long as it's not Pennsburg too. Okay, just checking, just checking.
So there's $160 in penalty, there's the county commission of $88, $32 in court costs, $25 validation notice, and $99 of interest.
$500 roughly.
It was 400 and change, yeah. So the only issue that I have, and if the committee is okay with waiving this, is how that county commission is handled. Because that's 5% that we would actually have to put out.
What does the law say?
So once it's on, once
Once
a third-party delinquent collector has it, the county is entitled to 5% when it's collected.
But I mean, with the new Act 55 that says that people are allowed to have the waivers, does it,
That's a good question.
does it take into effect that?
Everything,
Like-
or,
Do we have the authority to say, nope, they have to waive theirs because we're told that we have to waive these now?
Yeah, I would have to double check that. I'm pretty sure that's penalties and interest, but I'm not sure how that would relate to the county 5% commission for those that use an outside collection agency. That's a good question, though. I'd have to look at it.
Alright,
So ultimately, the question is, does the committee want to waive all of it except the county commission, or waive none of it?
I mean, I'm fine with waiving it.
If they fit the criteria for the waiver, yes, and, yeah.
But I don't think we should have to show off the 5%. That's the
No,
part.
I'd leave the county tax there and say they have to.
They have to fight it out.
That's from
County.
2020, so that Act 55 wasn't then,
Right.
wasn't in effect in
Right.
2020.
That's true.
It's just a similar situation where if it happened right now, they would fall
They
under
wouldn't
that.
even have to ask.
Yeah, correct. They would just have to fill out the affidavit or whatever's required.
All right, I mean, I think we're in agreement that, yeah, waive everything that the county,
Yeah.
county's commission.
There's no reason we should have to show off the 5%. I
No.
mean, I know it's not that much,
Well,
but if we had 100 of these, then that would start to add up.
Yeah,
This was 2020?
yeah.
Correct.
It's only that 1 year, the next year, in 21, they would have gotten a regular full bill.
And
The
paid
goals
it.
would have
It's
been
the
updated.
interim one that's getting them.
That's what I
Yeah,
said.
no, but
If-
now-
Yeah, I know.
I'm having second thoughts because now we're getting into, well, it could lead to another one, and another one, and another one. And that was before the act
Yeah,
took place.
sure. Wish I knew what it was. Waive off, all right. Judy, thoughts?
I'm actually okay with it as long as we're not showing up 5%, because we are gonna have fees moving forward.
Right, it's all,
Yeah.
should be good now unless somebody has that from 2021, but we could deal with them on a case by case, because it's not like there's gonna be hundreds of them, or not be hundreds.
Like I
of them.
said, I would not have been for it if we were looking at 3 years' worth of bills.
Right,
But if it's just that they didn't get the interim one, and then they paid when they got the right one,
right, as
you
long as
know,
they
it
pay
seems to
without
me like it was an
penalties,
honest
so, right.
mistake, you know, and, you know, but that's why I was questioning that, because I was like, you know, if they didn't pay the tax for 3 years, that's a little bit different.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, I'm okay with.
Except for the 5%,
Except for the
right?
5%.
I don't, the district should not be putting that out.
Go ahead.
All right,
Okay, and I will see if there's a way to get that county commission waived, but
yeah.
we're not.
And it would be interesting to know if that's gonna be included or not included in that 55,
Right, moving forward.
moving forward, yeah.
Yeah, I have to go back and look at that, but I believe it was within a year that they would have to say, hey, I never got the bill, and then sign an affidavit, and then we'd have to see proof of changing of ownership, which
Mhm.
they could do all of it except this has been 3 years.
Right, okay,
So otherwise, I think they would qualify,
okay. All right.
all but the county commission.
Yep, thank you. Okay, charter school rates 23, 24.
Yeah, so just giving you an update where our rates are for 23-24. So these are the annual tuition rates that we have to pay for any student that attends an outside brick and mortar or cyber charter school. So for the non-special ed rate is $14,491. Special ed rate is $30,884. And I started to give the form, it's called the PD 363, to Dr. Roche to sign it, and I said, wait a minute, special ed actually went down. So I took it back,
Oh,
double checked it, and it actually did decrease. It's budget to budget. So we must have had a slight decrease in special ed in the budget. So we'll take it.
okay,
Decrease is always good.
yep,
in this realm.
Every $210 counts.
So again, trying to figure out what questions the committee might, or what information they might like to hear along with this. Enrollment at the end of last year was 199 students that we had. And the cost, and this is just a snapshot because we still have end of year reconciliations coming from the charter schools. So again, expenditures for last year are not done.
Do they have a timeline for that?
No.
I figured. Okay.
Not that I'm aware of.
They don't have to submit it to us by a certain
I
time?
mean, if they want to get paid, they'll submit it, so it's never really an
Yeah, but
issue.
that's kind of crazy because if you think about it, we have, I had a point to that. At the end of June, never mind, I had a point to it, I'll leave it. I lost it.
Okay, since she's derailed,
Thank you, I'm derailed.
what was our budgeted amount for the year?
The budget, I had that, I did not write that down.
That's okay.
It's all right,
You know that
we like to ask questions.
Thursday.
I
I think that's right
I
then.
can look it up at some
Was
point.
it not,
here
there was
before we-
3 something?
Yeah, I know we put extra in because of, the
Yeah.
charter schools. We had
Yeah.
it
Put it in
that,
7,500,
so.
And these are the same numbers that I think the board has had for most of the summer. We put it in a couple times, just so,
Yeah.
so it's always a topic of conversation, how much,
So we're probably close to budgeted amount.
yeah. I believe there was some funds put in at different, what's it called, so it's not included in the,
Oh, budgetary reserve.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had like 1 million, I thought, that we put in a budgetary reserve specifically
Yeah, I
for
think
charter
that-
schools.
Yeah, I think so, yeah,
In addition to the normal amount we had been budgeting
Yeah.
for years.
yes.
That's kind of what I remember
Do
we
you-
did.
Okay.
Do you have, and if you don't, it's fine. Do you have what our rates are for special ed and for non-special ed? For 23, 24? Do we know what that is?
That's it.
The
No,
charters,
that's
You mean per student
If-
for us?
For
Like
us,
the
yeah.
cost of a student.
Thank you. Thank you for understanding my convoluted question. Because if that's what the charter schools are charging us, what are we?
What are our costs
Right.
for the same type of student?
yeah, that I will have to
That's
get
fine.
back to you.
That's fine.
Yeah, I
I'm
can
just
definitely get
curious.
that.
I don't remember what it was, and
That would be a Thursday question, I'm sure other people will ask that.
I'm sure they will too. Okay. All right.
Well, yeah, this is not what they charge us, this is what they get per person, per
I know.
per district.
And that's what
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just trying to do
And
apples
it's
to
based
apples.
on what we spend on
Correct.
special ed students, so you would expect that number to be somewhere around 30,000.
Right, minus the capital piece that
Yeah.
you include, or minus the budgetary
Yes.
reserve, it's pretty close.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's not a critical amount, I'm just.
Because in
I'm just-
addition to
yeah,
that, that is included, is all the transportation costs are included
Yes,
for the non-pub and the charter, the brick and mortar charter
okay,
as well.
yeah, sure, okay. All right, so if anybody have any other questions on that?
Have we seen any kind of a decrease, do we know, in our charter numbers going out?
I have to work, I've been working with Mrs. Rothermel, who had a whole campaign, and actually tomorrow or the next day is another one of those evening things to bring people back. So I know we've had a couple that have transitioned back, but I don't have a significant wave of numbers.
No.
We have done some surveying, and it's minimal. People want to reply. They give you some feedback, but not a whole lot. So we're working on it.
Good question. Okay, we'll move on to the state budget, updated allocations and our budget.
Yeah, so just wanted to show you sort of the new budget that was passed and finally signed, and what was included in basic ed, special ed subsidy, and the Ready to Learn grant. So we do have, first line is what was budgeted for us for this year, and then the actual allocation. So 682,000 more in basic education subsidy is coming to us than what was budgeted. And then 68,000 more in special ed is coming through the state budget than what was budgeted in our budget. Ready to Learn has been, I think, the same amount since it started 10 plus years, whatever it's been, yeah. Yeah, so that's always pretty consistent. But as we talked, there was there was 1.6 or $1.8 million was used from fund balance to balance this year's budget. So now you can add those two numbers up, and it's actually 1 million or less, yeah, of what was
Good,
gonna need to be used from fund balance because of that additional revenue that's coming in.
okay,
So that was good news.
yeah.
So one thing that was initially included in the budget and then removed at the last minute was that Lifeline Scholarship, which talks about the information of having the bottom 15% of academic institutions have their students that have been there for a year and have some little bit of criteria, have the ability, if on that list, if passed, to take their money elsewhere. So an elementary student, K to 5, K to 6, could take $5,000, and the secondary could take $10,000 to another institution. So that's scary when you're thinking about having a school that's in the bottom 15%. So I mentioned it several times to the administrators, trying to understand that although it did not pass, Governor Shapiro did endorse it, and it got a lot of backlash, and then I think when it was passed,
He just took the
and then
language.
he vetoed it, that piece, but I'm sure there's some political side to that, the balance of vouchers versus choice and cyber and charter. And I don't know if I shared that with the board, but there's a document out there that talks a little more about what the plans were. And it actually removes cyber, charter, and technical centers from the bottom 15%. So they're not included. So now you're talking about just public institutions that have a different set of criteria. So not that I know I was told that Pottstown has 1 or 2 schools that are close to that list. So that's just an interesting conversation. It could be one bad year, or one, I don't know exactly, there wasn't enough information shared. I tried to get a copy of a list, couldn't get my hands on one. So I think it's important, and I'm probably going to weave that into at least Convo, or having the principals at least talk about that. That's an important piece of knowing that our students deserve as best they can, but that can really negatively impact the district if that's what comes to fruition.
There was a really weird aspect of the money following the student, though, that I know was a big sticking point for a lot of school districts, which was, once you got that money, you kept it. So, and it continued to follow you. So even if you lived in Pottstown, but you moved to Upper Park, you got to keep your $5,000 every year.
From your new district? Well, I did not hear that.
Huh.
Once you got that money, it followed you. At least in the
Yeah,
original,
right. Well,
it became, okay, you get a voucher. But you didn't have to stay in Pottstown.
Right.
Yeah.
So you could take your $5,000 and go to the North Penn School District, and now you get, so there was, I think we'll see it again in a better
Different iteration.
iteration.
Yeah,
because there was a
it comes
lot
down
of
to
serious
more
issues
parental
with it.
choice, right? Then right now the choice is cyber and charter, and are there other schools of quote unquote choice that are there? My mindset and my frame out to at least the staff and to you guys.
Don't want to be involved.
No, well, that's definitely key. But we want our families and our students that we're the first choice. That's the idea, right? We're the first choice. We have so many communication devices. We're the first choice, right?
Yeah.
We have so many ways to communicate.
Yeah, that's it.
Favorite.
What if you?
Right, so that's really what we're trying to get across. But it's important perspective of that ongoing conversation of vouchers and all of that, so. And I haven't
remember
heard
what
anything
was-
else about charter reform.
I remember. No, my question was, that, it was a statement really, that we're supposed to have, we usually have our audit in July. So I just was thinking about the charter schools and how they would bill us backwards. Like, we still wouldn't know if they took their good old time. But you're right, if they want to get paid, I guess they won't take their good old time. Okay, that was it. It just popped back in my head. Okay. All right, anybody have anything else? Let's see, the audience?
That was riveting.
We thought you were enjoying that. Okay.
Okay, Miss Policy Chair.
And she took a step back from a ledge.
Yeah. Thank
For
goodness.
now.
For now. All right, our next
Those
meeting
are
will be
riveting.
September 18th at 6 PM here at the Ed Center.
Yeah.
I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank
you, everyone. And you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for holding down the fort.
That's why I asked you to grab the chair.
Appreciate it.